Wow, that's a reversal from the way it usually works. I don't think viewers and readers in general know necessarily how long it takes from a book when it gets optioned to the years that can pass before cameras start rolling. What was that journey like with the Meg to getting to the silver screen?
Well, like I mentioned, we got the first movie option in the spring of '96. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, the spring of '96, before the book was even optioned. And they went through two screenwriters, horrible scripts, and then the head of the studio was fired. So when you lose the head of a studio, that means if your project was optioned by him, it's going back into reversion. So the rights reverted back to me, and nothing happened for about 5 or 6 years. I spoke to a friend of mine, Nick Nunziata, who is the founder of Chud.com, Cinematic Happenings Under Development. And when he found out that I had the rights back, he went to two of his friends, Guillermo del Toro, the director of Hellboy, and the producer, Lloyd Levin. And they decided that, yeah, we'll option it for $1, write the script, and they assigned a director to me, to the project, Jan de Bont, who had done Twister, who was a great director. And we worked on the script together, and that went out to New Line Cinema, which optioned the package and promptly replaced me as screenwriter. And the new screenwriter had his own take upon Meg, saw it more like Moby Dick with a big shark, and that just didn't work. So the rights were reverted back to me 2 years later because they'd undersold the foreign rights, so they couldn't get financing. So the weddings, and I left at the altar twice. So I went to a new friend of mine, Belle Avery, who was a producer whose forte was raising money. And I sold the option to her, and she spent the next 8 years independently raising the money, and eventually brought the whole package to Warner Brothers for distribution, but they wanted a piece of the action. They wanted to be part of it. And I'm glad they did, because they did a great job. And so 22 years later, I think it was, the movie came out.
Along the same lines, once filming wrapped, it must have been surreal for you to see the Meg up on the IMAX.
It was a little surreal, on the parts that I felt they really did a great job writing a copy of the book from. That was the most exciting parts. I thought they did a great job with the Mariana Trench.
Every author that I've spoken to for the show has talked about the dreaded sophomore slump, the following up their first book with a second. Did you already have the idea for the trench in your back pocket before you began working on the Meg?
I'd always intended it to be a second book. I just didn't think I'd be doing it as my second published book. The 2-book deal that we'd gotten with Doubleday was for Meg and Mayan Calendar Doomsday Prophecy, which later came out as Domain. But they didn't want a Mayan Prophecy book. They wanted another underwater book. So my editor kept sort of strong-arming me toward writing what they wanted, but there was a lot of money at stake, so I basically gave them what I wanted. It wasn't a very good book. And so 2 weeks before I was supposed to be paid a lot of money, they canceled. And, kind of floored us. They didn't tell us why. We found out later it had a combination of a couple things, including they were being taken over by a big German company called Bertelsmann. So instead of the Domain book that would eventually be about the Mayan calendar coming out, we had to sue them to get the rights back to the Mayan book, while I wrote the sequel to Meg, which was a trench. And then we later got the rights back, and then I rewrote the entire book as Domain.